I'm Evan Gamble-Lewis, and you are watching Inside the Electronic Music Industry.
Welcome to another edition of Inside the Electronic Music Industry. Thank you for joining us for our relaunch a decade later. In this segment, you will be hearing from one of the most respected and seasoned electro producers from our East Coast and internationally as well. This is Evan Gamble-Lewis.
I'm Evan Gamble-Lewis, and I'm a DJ and a music producer. I've been doing it for upwards of, like almost 20 years now. I feel old now. But yeah, I grew up in Connecticut. My mother ended up moving us down to Florida. I remember going into McDonald's and ordering food, listening to like DJ Trashy spinning on the radio in McDonald's. I was heavily influenced there by electronic music, and then when I went back up to Connecticut, and I met an amazing DJ and friend that introduced me to electronic music and did a good job of like explaining all the new the genres, the subgenres, and everything. And he had vinyl and he had turntables in there, so I could go and I could listen to all the different types of music and see what I really liked. At that time, I was getting into like trance, like psytrance. Goa, stuff like that, and then I really loved drum and bass too, and breakbeat. I heard a lot of breakbeat in Florida, so like, you know, I think between the trance, the drum and bass, and the breakbeat, that was kind of like my main thing that I first got into in Connecticut. I would stay in Florida, you know, for some time, and then I got into like DJing and playing out in clubs and stuff like that, kind of getting my feet wet. You know, my mom was a guitarist, she was a singer, and she was, you know, I was surrounded by music, you know, but I was more into art. I bought a CD at a record store, and it was like a bass CD, like an electronic bass. I didn't know what I was looking for, you know what I mean? But I bought this like bass CD, and I put it in my computer, and it had software for, I think it was called Sonic Foundry Acid Eject. It really reminded me of like painting, or being like a conductor of an orchestra or something, and like, instead of like having all the different sections, you had anything. It was like, you know, like anything you could design, any kind of sound you wanted to make, you can stack it up and layer it and be like your own conductor of your own frequency orchestra, you know, really cool. I'd buy the books at the music shops and learn how to play my favorite songs. And I haven't had any instruction courses or anything like that, but like I said, you know, my mom was she plays more shows than I do. Yeah, she kills it. So a lot of my original production that I first ended up doing was all sequenced through analog equipment, through the Roland and the Yamaha. So I'd do the best that I could production-wise with the analog equipment, and then I'd record it into Cubase, and then chop it all up and do arrangements and editing. And when I was a young kid, I started working with Omar Santana. Him and I linked up, and we started Tricked Out recordings. Omar is primarily known for hardcore. He's like one of the, you know, godfathers of hardcore music, gabber of hardcore. But he did really cool breaks, and they're like, he called it hard hop. Omar was, you know, monumental in my, you know, teaching me how to be a better producer. He had some really, really cool sample CDs, recording right off the record into the MPC, and then truncating it, you know, in the MPC. But we just sped it up and put a lot more bass into it and you know, crazy sounds.
Evan has been producing and engineering for so long, I was very curious to know how many tracks he's produced, how many labels he's signed with from past to present, and where he stands on ghostwriting.
I remember when I first started, and I was like, I have 5 tracks, I have 6 tracks, and then you're talking about like tracks that I've never released. But yeah, it's hundreds, like probably around 300. But that's just like, yeah, those are just like with my own name or whatever. I've released music on so many labels. Right now I'm on Ira Recordings. They're out of Budapest, Hungary. And what I really love about their label is they're just so eclectic, and it's run by Beatman and Ludmilla Gabor. Beatman, he inspired me to keep making the stuff that I really wanted to make, because a lot of my like club bangers, aggressive kind of, party type tracks I'd put out on like bomb tracks, and they're really fun tracks. They're great for the club. They get the crowd moving. And they're really popular more in like European markets and stuff like that. Not so much American markets. It's more geared towards like Russia and Poland, UK, Spain, that kind of stuff. So it's not your typical American breakbeat music, but I don't think that I've ever been like a typical American producer, especially with touring in Europe at a young age and really like ingesting that sound and it becoming a part of me. I do so many different styles of music, that kind of whatever I'm feeling at the time needs to be handled accordingly to fit. I want the label to fit music, or the music to fit the label. You know what I mean?
Evan on ghostwriting.
I tend to think of ghostwriting if somebody is like, hey, I'm going to pay you to do something for me, and I'm going to have no input in it at all. I just want to buy your talent and sell it. I love working with my clients that I have on audio production. When you hire an engineer, you're hiring somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that's spent years and years and years and years doing all the hard work of learning how to put the right effects on certain things, how to, basically facilitate the whole track. All those years of knowledge that you've put into it, all the blood, sweat, and tears, and if somebody hires you as an engineer to come in and write a song, I kind of coach them along the way. Like, so if they have an idea, they'll send me the idea, like a whole bunch of stems and everything, and I listen to what they're doing, and I see where they can improve on certain things. So I can, let's say their drums are flat and lacking, I can boost their drums up and make them super live and pumping and, crazy, like hitting you in the chest. As well as, synths, everything else. Like there's so much to learn about production, and you can't do it in a year or two or whatever. It takes years. I thought coming off of that tour, I thought, you know what? I had some DJs making fun of me when I was on that tour because I was blowing up and I didn't play my own stuff, and I wasn't a producer. Like, you're Mickey Mouse. You don't write your own stuff. You're just playing other people's music. And and I know you're not supposed to like listen to, haters and stuff, but I was like, he has a point. So I'm like, I'm gonna go home after this tour and I'm gonna write all my own music, and I'm gonna come out next year as a producer and play all my own music. Well, here I am, like, over 10 years later. It's not easy. Like just now, like this album that I just put out just now this is the first time I've actually been where I want to be, at the production level where I want to be. And it's taken so long. And I mean, you know me from back then. I mean, what a lot of these people don't know is that Sandra and I, like, we go way back. I did a remix for you and Edgar, Decoding Jesus, back in, 2009 or 2010 or something like that? Yeah, and we were talking about doing an interview that long ago, and it's taken 10 years. So, things take time to grow, and organically, you can't rush any of this stuff, When it comes to ghostwriting, I would definitely say that I don't think I've ever ghostwritten anything. I've definitely been an engineer for a lot of people, and maybe like a music coach, if that makes sense, I definitely would never work with somebody that didn't already have an idea. I want them to present me with something, their vision, their sound, something that, or sit down with me in my studio and say, listen, this is what I really love. I like these kind of sounds. I like this and this and this. And I can, I've written a billion songs, so I know how to make the session flow and bring the best qualities out, rather than monkeying around for 2 years trying to figure out how to put sounds together. It's like, oh yeah, I know this sound, I know this sound, I know this sound. I could just like get the track together and they're like, that's exactly what I want. And at the end of the day, when these people, you know, like friends, clients, everything, you know, at the end of the day when they leave and they're like, dude, this is exactly what I wanted. You know, like that's, yeah. So I'm not a ghost producer. I'm an audio engineer and music coach, I guess.
Next up, I asked Evan why he was so close to quitting making music and what inspired him to continue and eventually make his latest album.
The people that are listening to your music and the people that have an idea of who you are as an artist and everything is way different than what you're actually dealing with on a day-to-day basis as the human that's writing the music. So we're very sensitive people. Like, I don't care how much of a front any one of these guys wants to put out there. If you're doing music, you've got some soul and you got a lot of passion, and it's really easy. There's a lot of people out there that tell you to give up and to, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And there's some of us that do. And I'm like, I don't want to do anything else, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's really hard when the only thing that you love and the only thing that you want to do isn't necessarily working, like, monetarily. And it gets really hard. You know, because I've only had a few times in my life where music actually paid my lifestyle. You know, most of the time I'm funding everything that I do. I'm, you know, working a job 2, 3 to pay. You know, so it's basically a hobby, and everybody looks at me like, yeah, you're this pro DJ or producer or whatever. I'm like, no, I mean, you know, sometimes, but if I'm doing it for somebody else, when I'm doing it for myself, no, I have to have a job. Like, you know, and, you know, maybe that's just for, like, because I'm not very good at business, and and I'm not a businessman. I've never been. I'm an artist, you know, through and through. That's all I am.
You look at me and you wonder, what have you done to feel this way? I can't explain the things you've done to me, but we carry on anyway.
And I know there's a lot of us out there, and you know, you tend to you think, you know, you put all your eggs in one basket and you dedicated your life to doing something that doesn't create monetary success and provide you with a lifestyle to just do, you know, what you know that you were born to do. It's really fucking depressing, you know. You know, so I you know, like, I think I just got to a point where I was just like, you know, fuck everything, fuck everybody. Like, you know, and it wasn't like I was hating on anybody, I was just sad. Felt like I wasted my life, you know, because you can't reset. Like, you've already put in all that work and you've done all that. And I made that post, and I know how stupid it sounded. Like, afterwards, I felt really, you know, bad about, like, making that post, but right after I posted it, a really, really, really good friend of mine, Christy, out of New Orleans, she called me up. She's like, Evan, you better fucking pull your head out of your ass right now. She's like, you know, there's people that have talent out there that are wasting talent, and she's like, if you fucking waste your talent, she's like, you're gonna have to deal with me, you know. And she got she really slapped me around quite a bit. She's like, you better fucking shape up and get your shit together, man. Like, you better start writing that music. I don't care what the fuck you have to do. Just, if you're gonna stop writing that music, then you're letting everybody down. You're not just letting yourself down. There's people that really love that stuff. And then I started thinking, you know what? Maybe, yeah, she's right. Maybe, like, it's not about me. Like, music. You think about, you have a pity party for yourself, and you think like, oh, well, you get wrapped up in your own stuff, but, and some people really depend on the music, it really helps them get through really hard times, and I started to realize, it's not about me anymore, like, this music is for everybody, and it helps everybody, and like, once you get into, like a community of people that come together and love the music and, really, it saved my life. Yeah.
Next, I asked Evan who inspires him and what inspired him to invest in a very large sound system.
My fiance, like, she has a completely different perspective than I would or any of my producer friends would. There's certain sounds that'll, like, throw her into a panic attack, and she's like, that sound is awful. And I'm like, what? It's badass. She's like, yeah, but it's really like obscene, just out there. Like, and I'm like, yeah, that's what's cool. Having so much love in my life now, and like being, with her, and she's really done a lot for me. I think being in a place to listen to what other people say about my music, she does a good job. And when it comes to like professional advice and stuff, I'll, maybe like DJ Hyper, I like to send him tracks and get like, hey, what do you think about this? Does it, does it sound good? Or, Scott Weiser, Jackal, or Omar Santana, that really know my production very well, and they know my direction and things I'm, trying to achieve, and, they might point out something that I had missed, like, as a professional reference, It's really great to have a circle of friends and producers that, that know your music and know music so well, So, yeah, those are, usually my guys, and my gal.
Next, we'll hear about Evan's sound system inspiration.
There's so much talent around here, just so many cool DJs. But we went out to Chase's, and we saw Matrix and Super Groover and Mike MX and Amy Girl Shiver. They were all playing, and it was like one of the first times that I danced all night. I danced so much that I was sore the next day. I was like, we need to do this all the time, and then Amy was like, hey, the promoter wants us to do this every Saturday. I woke up one day and I was like, I need to buy speakers. And then I bought the speakers, and I'm like, okay, I need an amp. So I bought the amp, and then I'm like, I need subwoofers. So I bought subwoofers, and then, it just snowballed. They were all buying stuff, because it's like, hey, like, let's, I think we were all inspired by that night. A lot more people started coming out to support it, and everybody, there was magic, It's like, and it was like, Amy and I used to always say, like, this is church. People would come out there feeling bad, and forget about, like, their whole week, forget about all their problems and everything, and we would all be hugging each other and just like, oh my god, that was so much fun, and we got to do it every single week, and it was like, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's so much fun, and it brought so many people together. There ain't any scene like there is here in Central Florida. Yeah, I love every single one of those people that were out there. We got some really cool people in our break scene. Yeah.
To conclude this interview, I asked Evan if he had any advice for aspiring producers and music artists.
If you want to be a producer and you want to be an artist, like, be an artist. Don't worry about what you look like. Worry about like what it means to you. Like do it from the heart. You know, like make your music, and don't worry about sounding like somebody else or something. Like just sound like you, and be okay with sounding like you. You know, it's great to have influences, and it's great to like, you know, take things that you really love about, you know, music that you grew up listening to, and put it into your music, you know, and have like an idea of where you want to go with it, but don't write it to like chart or make money or whatever, you know. And that's how, you know, you don't have to, you know, you can be broke like me and fucking kick ass Jonas, man.
Keep an eye out for the second part of Evan's interview, in which we'll be showcasing his latest album, Hologram. Thanks so much for tuning in to Inside the EMI and for your support.